Hello and welcome to the third and final part of my How to Colour Food series. In this part we're going to be colouring comfort food, so all that yummy food that we love to eat, like bread, cakes, pastries, jelly and ice cream, pizzas, all that good stuff. So as with all of my How to Colour tutorials, I've left some Prismacolor suggestions on the side here for you to have a look at. You don't have to use those colours and you don't have to use Prismacolor pencils, you can use anything you like. They're just some suggestions there for you. Again, this sheet is going to be left in the description for you to download so that you can practice and colour along with me. So first of all, we're going to be colouring a loaf of bread. Now for this I have said to choose cream and sand for the inner, chocolate, eggshell and sand for the crust. So I've pulled these colours all ready for you here. Now we'll start off with a bit of sand, the sand colour. It's like a very, very warm cream. And we're going to be putting that on the sort of left-hand side, top left corner of the inside of the bread here. So nice light layer, just all the way down the side, following the contour of the bread and just feathering out into the white of the paper, a bit like that. And then again on the facing slice of bread, just following that contour on this left hand side again. So we've got a nice light sort of shadow colour for the inside of the bread, because we never like to do things in one solid colour. That just makes it very static. We like to add some dimension to our colouring if we can. So that's the sand. Now we're going to grab our cream, go over the sand that we've just done, and then finish the rest of the shape. So the sand, just like I said, gives that little bit of dimension, a little bit of interest for the eye, that it's not just one solid colour of bread. And that's pretty much the inside of the bread done. Now for the outside we're going to need the colour chocolate, and the top of the loaf is usually the darkest, so maybe where the heat is touching or is closest to the top of the loaf when it's in the oven. So we're going to do a really sort of rough layer of this chocolate colour, this dark brown. But it's also a very warm brown as well, so it does have that kind of toasted look to it. And we're just going to do that on the top edge of the bread there, following the lines on this loaf of bread. Now when we've done that, we will get our eggshell, and with the eggshell, the bit that you've left here white on the very top edge of the bread, we can colour that with the eggshell. Now don't worry if it seems to have blurred the chocolate, you can go back in with that chocolate and just add a few more lines for texture or whatever, totally up to you. Now with the eggshell again, coming on this side of the chocolate brown now, just blending the edge down to about halfway. Again with the chocolate, just come in and redefine that texture a little bit. And then lastly, again with the cream, we're just going to finish off the bread. So you can go back in as many times as you can, as you want to, with the other colours, to deepen them up until you're happy with the final result. But you should have something that looks a little bit like this. So we have that lovely toasted colour on the top of the bread there. And again, on the top of this slice, we're going to follow on the pattern. So chocolate in the middle, eggshell on the outside, and if you've got enough room, pop a bit of cream in here. And there we are, that is basically a loaf of bread. Obviously these are really quick and easy tutorials. I'm not a professional colorist, and this is just how I colour things to look most effective, most easily. So obviously you might be able to do it a lot better than that, but that is how I colour my loaf of bread. So let's move on to the donuts. Now I've got a sort of bird's eye view of the donut, and then I've got a side view because they are kind of different in colouring books. So what I've chosen here is Process Red, Hot Pink and Deco Pink for the glaze. So we'll get those out first of all. And we'll concentrate on this glaze, then we'll move on to the bread. So with your darkest colour, which is the Process Red, don't worry about the sprinkles, we'll come back to those afterwards, so you can go straight over those. With the Process Red, we're going to be following the outer edge of the glaze, and you don't have to do this completely the same width all the way around. You can sort of vary it a bit like that, so it's sort of thinner and thicker as you go around. Just gives it a bit more of a natural look rather than a, you know, a straight narrow line. When you've done your basic border like that, give it a little bit of a hazy edge for the next colour to blend into, just like that. Next colour is Hot Pink. So we're going over the edge of the Process Red and leaving a bit of room in the centre for the last colour. So this is just a transitional colour so that we can get to the really light one, and we've got a good contrast there. So the bit that you've left in the middle, just colour it in with the Deco Pink. So with most of my colouring tutorials, I always seem to use 3 colours. It's like the magic number. The first colour is always the darkest and acts as the shadow and gives the contrast to the piece. And then the second colour is always a transitional colour to get from darkest to lightest. And the third colour is obviously the lightest, and you can go over anything that you've previously coloured with that lighter colour and use it as a blender. So I always seem to colour with 3 colours, sort of a mid-tone, a dark tone and a light tone. And that's basically because it gives a good level of contrast, which is what makes your colouring look, you know, really popping out from the page. So when you've done that, you should have something that looks a bit like this. Now for those sprinkles, if you've got some gel pens or something like a paint pen that's going to be able to go over the top of that coloured pencil and still look opaque, whip those out, because I'm using jelly roll pens here. They are going to be our sprinkles, and they're going to look nice and 3D and lifted up off the donut, which is what we want. So I've got some green, I've got some pink, just random placement. These little sprinkles. What else have I got? Let's try some orange. There we go. Obviously you can use whatever colours you like, but these jelly roll pens are really good for adding sprinkles on top because they're quite opaque. Okay, now for the bread part of the donut. So we've got chocolate and peach beige. So we've already got our chocolate out from the loaf of bread that we did. Now peach beige, let me just pull that one out. Here we go. So with the bread, we're going to do a layer of chocolate around the outside edge, like this. And you can just follow the circle all the way around. and then the peach beige going over the chocolate that you just put down so it looks a little bit more burnished and smoother. And just gives a little look of shadow and highlights. Similar if you were doing a photo editing, you always edit the shadows, the highlights, the blacks, the whites for contrast. So that's just similar to what we're doing here. So we're thinking that the light's shining directly down onto this donut. So we've got really nice highlight on the glaze at the top, and we've got this nice highlight on the bread. Now obviously that chocolate colour on the outside does look a little bit harsh. So you can go back in with the chocolate and just do a very light layer over the top of the peach beige, just to sort of blend it together so it doesn't look as harsh, but we still have that, you know, darkest part at the very edge. It's a very, very small area to colour, so it's a bit tricky, but I did keep these foods small on purpose when I made these charts, because colouring books, as I mentioned in the last video, don't often have huge donuts in them that fill a whole page. They're usually on a table or in a basket or on a plate. So I've kept them quite small so that you can practice these blends sort of in situ. So something that looks a little bit like that. Again, going pretty fast just for time reasons, but you can work on this and perfect it. But we're after that sort of basic look. So once you've done that, you can move on to the sideways donut. And again, with the processed red, we're using it on the edges. So we're coming in here with this wobbly sort of drippy frosting, giving it a nice border. Then in with the hot pink. And finally the deco pink, just for that highlight. So again, you can add your sprinkles anywhere you want, or you could just leave it to be, you know, a glazed donut. That's totally fine. You can use any kind of icing colours that you want on here. You could do blue icing, green icing, whatever you like, but I think pink icing is the sort of most used and most common icing. So we've got loads of little sprinkles on there. And then again with the bread, we're going to be coming in with the chocolate from both sides this time. So just bringing it in, getting lighter and lighter as you come to the middle of the donut. And then that putty beige colour, sorry, peach beige, not putty beige, over the chocolate here and into the centre. So this just gives it that nice look of different tones of brown in the bread. Now at this point it probably will be looking very, very light, so we're going to come back in with the chocolate and just deepen that colour a little bit. So just keep playing around till you're done. And we're going to just put a bit of chocolate here and peach beige just to give the illusion of the other side of that bread, the inner side showing through the hole in the middle. There we go, so donuts from the top and from the side. Next up, we've got everybody's favourite, beautiful frosted cupcakes. So here, I've given a few different colours for different frosting. So first of all, I've got a nice blue frosting. So we need peacock blue, true blue and sky blue light. Okay, so the technique for this is darkest colour first, and what we do is we're going to start at this bottom layer of frosting. Darkest colour first, peacock blue. We're going to do a C shape on the edge and then just get narrower as we go to the middle of the frosting, just like that. Then on the opposing side, C shape again, and then bring the line down like that. So sort of opposite to what you do on the other side. So that just gives us a nice border for the icing. Then with the true blue, again, we're just following that line that we've already made and using this middle colour as the transition into the sky blue light. So this should leave you with a little bit of a curved line for the sky blue light to go into. And you can press quite hard to burnish over the other colours. And then go back in and do the whole thing again, but just very quickly, just to darken up the areas that have burnished out a little bit too much. Oh, these pencils are alive. So you should end up with something that looks really light towards the middle, and then really, really dark on the edge. Something like that. And we're just going to follow the exact same thing all the way up the frosting. So again, I'm just doing a C shape, a little bit longer on top, and a backwards C shape, a little bit longer on the bottom. Coming in with the true blue, leaving quite a clear line for the sky blue light to go into. And the line isn't completely horizontal, it's sort of curved just to show the curve of the icing. And you can perfect how that looks just by smoothing out the edges of that curve. So remember, we just want to sort of trick the eye. We're not doing anything too technical and, you know, completely perfect, right? You know, if you had a magnifying glass, it probably wouldn't look brilliant. But we're just trying to trick the eye that we have a 3D object here. So again, this little top bit, we're just going to follow the contour. And with the true blue, following this around and leaving a sort of curved area for the sky blue light. Okay, so something a little bit like that. So it looks pretty 3D. It's not technically perfect, but it looks pretty good. So for the case, excuse me, we need light umber and putty beige. So we're into our browns now. Light umber, putty beige. And all I do is give it a layer of the putty beige, the lightest colour. And then with the light umber, just follow the lines of the case, sort of randomly. Just do some straight lines in there. You can make some of them a bit darker, a bit thicker. I've gone over the edge, that's fine, you can do that too. And just give the impression of this paper cupcake case that's sort of dark in areas, lighter in other areas. And it's got a lovely chocolate muffin inside of it. So just something as quick and simple as that, just to trick the eye. And that is pretty much the cupcake done. I had to be so careful not to sort of encroach on Helen Elliston's tutorials for cupcakes, because she's so good at doing all these beautiful sweet treats. I didn't want to be seen to be copying or anything like that, but I'm sure Helen will be fine. We're good friends. So I've tried to do it in the quickest and easiest way that I could do it, just using a very, very limited amount of colours. So on this next cupcake, I have just given another option for the icing. I've given Crimson Lake, Poppy Red and Deco Pink. So we've got our Deco Pink out, we just need Crimson Lake and Poppy Red. So where's Deco Pink? Here we go. So again, dark colour, medium and light. The middle colour is a really orangey, very, very light red, whereas this one is a super deep red and this one is a really, really light pink. So 3 quite different colours, but they do work really well to contrast with each other. So exactly the same thing again. I'm going to go a bit faster this time so that we can just get it done and the video doesn't go on for too long. But you've seen the technique. I'm just going to do the darkest parts first. And then with the Poppy Red, a transitional colour. We don't need too much of this middle colour. This is literally just to take that dark red into somewhere that the light pink, the Deco Pink, can blend into. And then the Deco Pink. And this gives it just a really nice, muted, sort of very soft highlight and shine. Okay, so you'll end up with something a bit like that. Take your time to perfect it, obviously, and we might as well just go in and do this other case. So as long as you've got a dark, medium and light colour range, you should be able to do pretty much any icing colour that you like. So give it a try on the other cupcakes with some different colour combinations. See which one you like best. There's plenty of colouring books that have got cupcakes and food included. For the vegetables and the fruit that I did in the other tutorials, the colouring books by Peggy Jo Ackley are really, really good. They've got loads of food, fruit and vegetables. Flora Bella is the first one, and then Belle Jardin is the second one. And they're full of sort of like really rustic, countrified fruits and pantries and vegetable boxes and all sorts of stuff. Also, Romantic Country has a lot of food in it, so these tutorials are perfect for that. Okay, moving on to the jelly. Now I struggled a little bit of what colour to do the jelly because most jelly is red, but obviously you can have orange, green, etc. But I wanted to try and make it look quite light and translucent, so I didn't want to have the 3-colour blend that we have with everything else because I don't want that much of a contrast. I want it to look quite light, quite glass-like. So what I did was I went for 2 colours, spring green and yellow chartreuse. Here we go. And then you may just need a little bit of white just to blend it in and make it look a bit more smooth. So for this, I could have gone in with a 3rd colour, a dark green, maybe grass green, and really made it look super contrasted again. But like I said, wanted to make it look quite translucent because it is jelly. So we're going to concentrate on every single segment of this jelly with the spring green, doing a border around it. Like that. And then once you've done that, just give a little bit of a hazy edge so that we can blend the yellow chartreuse in a bit easier. Yellow chartreuse, leaving a slight bit of white in the centre of each segment. So we're going over the spring green just to buff it out, leaving a little bit of white. So we don't want any harsh lines on this, it's got to look really smooth. And this is why Prismacolors are ideal, because you can just go straight over the top of that colour that you've put down, and if you push hard enough you can replace it with the colour that you're currently using, so it kind of gets rid of the previous colour in places that you don't want it. So something like that. A little bit of white left on it, of course. Now you could just leave it like that. You don't have to use the white pencil, but if you do want to blur it a little bit more, just get a nice clean white pencil and just go over the yellow chartreuse and the white that you've left. And what you end up with is a really shiny, sort of translucent, glassy look to the jelly. And obviously it's not as contrasted for reasons that we've talked about, but I do like just how light and sort of glassy that looks. So that is jelly. Of course you can try any other colours that you like. Now I'm going to move my paper up so we can get some more of these tutorials. Okay, and the next 4 are the ice cream, the cake, pizza and the croissant. So let me just tape my paper down so that it doesn't move around everywhere. So this is the only thing about fake nails, is that you can't grab anything properly. These nails are really, really annoying, as beautiful and mermaidy as they are. Okay, so ice cream. Now for this one, I've said to try seashell pink, sand and cream for the actual ice cream itself. So the only one we need to get out is the seashell pink, because we should have the others out already. So let's have a look. So seashell pink, sand and cream. Now concentrating on the upper left-hand side with the seashell pink, and just giving it a nice little curve for a bit of darkness there, a bit of shadow. And then coming in with the sand, which is the next darkest or next lightest colour, whichever way you look at it. And just going over that seashell pink and leaving a bit of a white area on the right hand side. And filling that white area with the cream. So very, very similar to how we did the bread, the loaf of bread. just gives it a little bit of dimension. And then for the cone itself, goldenrod is a good colour. It's quite an orangey brown colour, so it's good for the cone. And all we're going to do is, again with the left hand side, the darkest area, and then very lightly bring it out to the right hand side of the cone, so that we do leave a little bit of white, or at least very, very light colour on the other side, and that just gives it a look of dimension. And that was so quick and easy, and that is how you do it. So that's obviously vanilla ice cream. You can go in with the raspberry pencil if you wanted, and just do some little drips of raspberry ripple sauce on the cone, on the ice cream rather. It's totally up to you. But just if you do, make the lines a little bit fatter in some places, a little bit thinner in other places, just to give that look of it being, you know, sauce that's dripping here, there and everywhere. So totally up to you if you want to add some sauce or not, but you can. Now, I haven't put this down on here, but I'm just going to give you a few colour combos for mint choc chip ice cream. So we need pale sage and dark brown, and also apple green. So pale sage, dark brown and apple green. Okay, so with the apple green, we're doing exactly the same as we did with the seashell pink on the other ice cream. So the very edges here, making it nice and curved, so we've got that look of dimension. Then doing the entire thing with the pale sage, going over that apple green so it doesn't look so bright. And once you've done that, you just get your dark brown and add in your chocolate chips. Now, how quick and simple is that? But it's really sweet. Everyone will know what flavour it is straight away, so it's really effective. And of course, goldenrod for that cone. There we go. So there is a couple of ice cream flavours for you to try. Next up, we're going to cake. So we need eggshell and jasmine. We've got eggshell and jasmine, and that's for the inside of the cake. So with the jasmine, with that being the darkest shade, again, I usually work on the left-hand side being the darkest. We're just adding some of that jasmine in here. And then the eggshell for the rest. They are quite similar colours, but the jasmine is just a bit brighter than the eggshell. And again, just gives that bit of interest instead of colouring it with one colour. It may not show up very well on the camera, but it is quite a nice subtle little change. Okay, and then for the icing, we can either do a lovely white icing or we can do a nice pink icing. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you both. So let's just quickly colour in this cake as well. Now, for the white icing, you're thinking, how am I going to colour white? Well, two really good colours to show white are very light blue and very light grey. So very light blue could work, but it's more of a kind of to create a snow effect, really. I use the blue for. So we're going to go with the light grey. So get yourself a cool grey, the lightest you've got. This is 10% cool grey. Yeah, or cool grey one I've put there, that's actually a different, that's polychromos I think. But anyway, you get the gist. So the lightest cool grey. And just doing the very edge of the icing, like that. And then down here. And then with your white pencil, you just want to buff into that grey that you've just put down, just so that it's not harsh. So you can go over that and just make it really, really smooth, and it just gives a bit of shadow to the icing, so it does look white, but it's not just left white on the page. It does have a little bit of dimension. So that's what you can do for that. Now, if you wanted to use pink and have a pink icing, let's get the pink, and we're also going to need the white to give it that lovely blush. So again, on the edge and down the side, like that. And then using your white to go over it and really blend out that pink so that it just doesn't look too harsh, and it does have a sort of creamy icing look to it. So something like that. Again, you can do any colour icing you want. Just chosen these two just to show you. And then if you just want a nice jam filling, let's get the crimson red and just fill in this stripe here. Again, totally your preference. And there we go, we've got a couple of slices of cake. Next up we have pizza. Now what we're going to need for this is yellow ochre and canary yellow for the cheese. So I'll just pop those out here. And with the yellow ochre, we're just using this bitting and bobbing all over the pizza. So no sort of technique to this. We're just placing it sort of around and under the bits of meat that are on the pizza, and just in random locations on the pizza. So this is again just so that we don't have to colour the cheese in one colour and make it look really flat. This just gives it that bit of interest. So then you go over the rest of the cheese with the canary yellow, and you'll see when we've done just how it gives it a bit of extra interest. You see, so it gives it that bit more contrast on the page maybe. And also cheese looks kind of different colours on pizza anyway, where it's toasted a bit more than in other places, so it gives it that natural look. Okay, so when you've done the cheese, we need the pumpkin orange and the cadmium orange hue for the pepperoni. So here we go, pumpkin orange. You can choose any sort of side of the pepperoni with your darkest colour, the pumpkin orange. Just give it a C shape around it. Just like that. And then with the cadmium orange hue, just fill in the rest. And it is a really subtle difference, but the cadmium orange hue is much lighter than the pumpkin orange, so it's much brighter as well, so you really can see the shadow that the pumpkin orange gives. It just makes it look a bit more 3D. So the other bits on the pizza can be whatever you want, but I'm going to say that they are bits of meat, so let's just colour them in with the chocolate. Like that. Now for the crust, we can use light umber and jasmine. So have we got these out already? Yes, light umber and jasmine. Here we go. Okay, so the light umber is really quite dark for a pizza crust, but it is just going to serve as that shadow. So we're putting it here at the very inner edge of the crust where it meets the cheese, and then just do a little bit of it as a swirl in the end. And then you basically just use the jasmine to colour the rest of it. So you're going over the light umber to blend it. And you end up with a nice light crust that just has a bit of shadow to it. Something like that. And that is how to colour a slice of pizza. Next up we have the croissant, and then after that there's just one more, so I might just move it up now. So we have the croissant and we have the pie. So with the croissant, we're going to need burnt ochre, goldenrod and white. So we've got goldenrod and white, we just need burnt ochre. Now there's two different ways of doing a croissant. You can do a vertical blend or a horizontal blend. So we're going to do both just to show you. Now this is the vertical blend. So we're taking our burnt ochre and we're just doing the right hand side and the top of each of these segments of the croissant. Bit like that. And then the middle one we're just going to do all the way around. Leaving a bit of a blend area for the next colour as we do. And then with the goldenrod, we're going to blend over that burnt ochre, because it's really quite a dark colour and we don't want too much dark on this croissant, and leave just a little bit of room for the white. So blending straight over the burnt ochre and leaving room in the centre vertically for the white. Now white pencil, and all that's going to do is smooth it out just like we did on the icing of the cake, and lighten it up a little bit. Okay, so something like that. And that is the vertical blend of the croissant. Just going to go back in and touch this up a little bit where I'm not happy. Now, my favourite is the horizontal blend, because the croissant does curl around this way, so we really should have a highlight that goes horizontally. So we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing, but this time we're going to concentrate on the tops and the bottoms of each segment with our darkest colour, the burnt ochre. So bringing it down a little bit, lighter as we go, and then up. And the same thing with all of the segments. A bit like that. Again with the goldenrod, leaving space in the middle horizontally for the white. Remember to use your goldenrod to go all the way over that burnt ochre. Really soften it down, lighten it up a little bit. And you'll end up with a bit left in the middle, which you can then go over with the white pencil, and it will look lovely and curved and smooth. And these are perfect colours for a croissant. And there we go. So there is how to colour a croissant 2 different ways. Last up we have the pie. So this, I'm going to say, is a lovely fruit pie. Now we're going to go with dark brown and goldenrod again for the crust. So goldenrod and dark brown. And for the crust, we just want to take the dark brown and put it on the very edges of this frilly part here, and then also here on top, so it forms like a little bracket to the top of the crust. We're then going to mark out some of these dints in the pie, and we're also going to bring the dark brown down here a little bit for shadow. So like that. Then we're going to go over the whole thing with the goldenrod. Now this will blur out those lines that you just put down for the dints, but that is what we want, because we do want them to look like very soft dints, valleys and peaks where the fruit is. And of course pies, they're going to have different colours in the crust because little bits will have got more more cooked than others. So this just gives it a nice realistic look. And then you can use that dark brown here, there and everywhere, just going around the sort of cross section of the pie and fill in the rest with the goldenrod. A bit like that. So you've got like quite a natural looking pie crust with all different bits of pastry that's a bit more cooked than other parts, etc. Okay, now for the berries, I have chosen pomegranate and processed red. So we've got our processed red out already. Here's the pomegranate. Where's the processed red? It's disappeared. Here we go. Now, as I do, we're doing the C shape with the pomegranate, the darkest colour, around every single berry in the pie. And at the bottom here, we've got some lovely melted berries, just with some juice pouring out there. So when you've got the outline of each berry done, go in with the processed red and just fill in the rest. Again, not sure how well this shows up on camera, but it is really nice contrast, but it does blend well together as well, so it does look like the berries are three-dimensional. Just going to bring that pomegranate back in to darken up the edges of some of the berries. And as always, if we want something to look super, super shiny, we put a nice little white dot on it. So white gel pen dot to every single one of the berries, just like that, and we have a beautiful shiny berry pie. So that concludes this episode and the series of how to colour food. Really hope that you've enjoyed colouring along with me and that you've learned some things as we've gone as well. Do let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed this. Please click the thumbs up if you've had a good time and you like my videos, and don't forget to subscribe. So thanks very much, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.